What's going on, everyone? Rosalind here. So a bunch of new information about Kuro no Kiseki 2 has come out, and we're going to go through most of it. I say most of it, there's a lot of information. I'm going to skim through all the stuff that's really not that important, and we're going to dive into all the really interesting and juicy details. There's a couple articles to go over where we get introduced to some new characters, some more confirmation on how some of the new systems work, and then there's a little bit of stuff in one of the latest trailers that I also want to showcase. We're not going to be watching the whole trailer, but I will leave it linked in the video description in case you want to watch that for yourself, but there is some stuff in that that's pretty interesting we'll take a look at. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Alright, so to start things off, we have details on Ren, Shizuna, Kashim, Maya, Grendel, and the new dungeon. So obviously Ren was a supporting character in the first game, now she's going to be a playable character in the second game, obviously having a much larger role to play. The only thing interesting, or I guess that I wanted to point out with regards to the explanation here about her, is this little line right here where it says, with the establishment of the Technology Federation on the verge of completion. This was the thing that she worked towards during the Chapter 4 incident in the first game. It does say here, which was her original objective in entering the Republic. Now, unless I'm misremembering, I'm pretty sure her original objective was actually to search for something. That's what we found out during Hajimari no Kiseki during her story event. So I'm not sure if this was retconned or maybe I'm just misremembering that, but that did jump out to me. Other than that, there's nothing really new to learn from here, just general background on who she is as a character. We can see some screenshots here. There's nothing really to garner from it. And next up we have Shizuna. Obviously she was a playable character in the first game in a supportive role. She joined temporarily a couple points throughout the game depending on choices you made, and this is her new outfit. I do like her new outfit, though I think I preferred her old one just a little bit more, but still this one looks nice. We obviously know she's going to be a playable character this time around, and here it does say she seems to have some business with the Republican government, though depending on if you chose to follow the Ikaruga during Chapter 5, you already know this, because it doesn't seem that she has business with the Republican government. She does, and you find this out during Chapter 5 if you choose to side with Ikaruga, but then it does say, but the whole story behind her group and the purpose of its activities is yet to be revealed. This is true. We still don't know everything, we just know that the Republican government hired them for a job. Here we can see her interacting with Aron, probably some training session, either after training or maybe before training. She is asking him about if he, has any recommendations for spots in Longport. But other than that, nothing really all that interesting dialogue-wise to garner from this. Alright, and moving on, we have Kashim. This is Feri's older brother. He works for the Marduk company. He was also a teacher to Vaughn for a period of time. Not a whole lot new to learn about him from this information, just that we know he's going to be a playable character now. Then we have Maya, Vaughn's holocore. We do know that she is able to, under special circumstances, take over the human consciousness. We saw this in the first game, but again, there's not a whole lot more to learn new about her from these cutscenes, and obviously she's going to be making an appearance in this game as well. And then we have Vaughn's Grendel form. Again, nothing real new about this. We get to see a couple screenshots here where he's fighting the red Grendel, the Grendel Zolga. Looks here to be some sort of combination attack or some sort of new craft maybe. And here's just another scene where they're fighting with Grendel Zolga, and then you obviously see the new holocore for the red Grendel in the background, but nothing really new here. But next we get to move on to the real juicy stuff. And that is the new dungeon. So we'll go ahead and dive real deep into this. So we have the new dungeon. It is the Continent of Zemuria's first virtual space service that utilizes the combat orbment Zypha and Orbal network. Is based on the data of the virtual combat simulator that Marduk Total Security Company had been researching and developing internally, but significantly updated and expanded with new features. The virtual combat simulator, that was where you could do some of the boss fights over again in the first game, and obviously the Marduk Company were the ones who provided that to us via Reset. Let's see here, so exploring the dungeon here, it is possible to freely form a party from among the members who can participate in battle and explore areas recreated in a virtual space. Players can move to the next area by completing the assigned missions in the current area, and battles against powerful enemies await upon reaching certain areas. By defeating powerful enemies in battle, you can obtain rare items as well as large amounts of shard tokens required for Mystic Cube analysis. Basically, this is the Reverie Corridor all over again. Everything they're saying here is essentially just the Reverie Corridor. There is one aspect of it that is different I've seen so far that we'll get to, but it's basically just that. It's Hajimari no Kiseki's Reverie Corridor, just renamed in a different form. But we can see some screenshots here. Obviously, you have different party members. They're going through a virtual space. Here, we have another group with some more different party members. And here's the Mystic Cube. So, Mystic Cube, in exchange for shard tokens obtained by exploring the dungeon and shard search, Mayak will analyze the Mystic Cube that exists in the on the orbital network. In addition to obtaining a large amount of sepith via analysis, you can also acquire consumable items, accessories, rare equipment, and even special items required for craft upgrades. So the Mystic Cube is basically the gacha system from Hajimari no Kiseki. Again, they're just bringing back the Reverie Corridor in a different form. But here is the Mystic Cube. Here it looks like you can use the Mystic Cube. You can upgrade your crafts, which again is one of the new systems that we'll get to that is different for this dungeon when compared to the Reverie Corridor one. Looks like here she's applying your shards, your S tokens to the Mystic Cube. But here's the craft upgrades. So by using special items obtained during Mystic Cube analysis, it is possible to gradually strengthen the crafts or S crafts of each character. In addition to increasing power and stun value, some crafts can be upgraded to significantly improve usability, such as by shortening the cooldown time after activating the craft. Also, by upgrading a craft to a certain level, it is possible to obtain stat bonuses for each character, such as increasing hit rate or maximum HP. It also says here that these do apply outside of this dungeon. So I am a little bit worried about this system because the first game was already brain dead easy, and I fear this might make it even more easier if the game's difficulty is not improved, but nonetheless, it is still a pretty cool system. So let's take a look at this, what we can garner from here. So it's looking at Elaine and her crafts, and you can see all of them. Looks like this is the upgrade path here, so it has 5 upgrades, and then once you hit level 25, I guess unlocks more, and then again at level 50 unlocks more. So the first bonus for getting 5, it looks like, is hit rate plus 20%, and then up here is max HP plus 1000, and then crit rate plus 10%. And then over here you can see how the craft actually changes. So these bonuses, I guess, are the bonuses you get for, I guess, completing or upgrading every single part of the craft. A little bit unsure on that part, but over here is the actual crafts. So you can see from here that the CP will not be changed. It'll still remain 40 CP, but by upgrading once, the potency is being increased from 120 to 121. The stun gauge damage is being increased from 8 to 9, and the delay after using the craft is being reduced from 120 to 119. And I assume each craft will have different parameters that can be changed. So cool system. Hopefully the game is balanced around the system being in the game and it doesn't make it even easier than the first game was, but we'll have to wait and see. Nonetheless, it is a cool system, and I do look forward to upgrading all my characters and seeing what sort of broken stuff we can do. All right, so continuing on, we have the support section from the Marduk Company, and we have a new character, Mirabelle Earlton. Okay, so it looks like she'll be able to provide CP service, so I assume restoring your CP, item support, probably to purchase items, activity support. Activity support allows you to challenge various minigame style missions, okay, and you can change the background music. Interesting. Okay, it looks like here's some different music tracks from the original game, so I assume there'll be tracks from the original game, obviously the new game, and probably DLC for other Kiseki titles. Looks like says you can change the background music in the following locations: inside the service screen, the field screen during exploration, field battles, or in command battles. Okay, so lots of different places where you can change the music up. And then we have the shard search feature. We know that this can get you some of the currency needed for use from the little gacha thing inside the new dungeon. What does it say here? By pressing R3 while in a city or dungeon, a shard area will expand around the player character. We've seen this in a number of the footage videos that have come out, allowing the player to discover objects that react to shards. In addition to shard tokens, those are the currency used for the Mystic Cube analysis. You can find items, recovery equipment, and breakable objects hidden by shard camouflage. So we can see here, hasn't pushed the button, and then after they push the button, this little thing shows up on the ground here. And she got some shard tokens from it, 10 of them. Cool. So that's it for this article. Let's move on to the next one. So moving on, we have details about Feri, Aron, Rizet, Kator, Judith, and more. We'll be going through our party members from the first game rather quickly because there's not a whole lot of new information to get from them, but we have Feri. This is Kashim's younger sister. Obviously, she's making a return. We get some screenshots here where she's talking with her brother, using her craft, some pre-fight stuff, banter going on. Then we have Autumn here. Unfortunately, these two do not have new costumes, but you know, I guess not everybody can get them. And here we have some more banter between the party members. We can see Swin here. He's using one of his crafts and looks like he is caring for somebody. I believe this is the leader of Eiyuu, but it might be somebody different. Kind of hard to tell from this angle, but yeah, something happened in Longport. Then we have Risette. Obviously, she is returning. Gonna have another hot spring moment, this time with Ferry, but other than that, nothing really we can tell from here. Here's Kator, probably one of the more mysterious characters from the first game that still has a lot of mystery and intrigue surrounding him. Some more screenshots here. Obviously, his drones are back with him, of course. Then we have Judith. Judith actually has a pretty interesting screenshot to take a look at. The one that I really wanted to showcase is down here. It's actually this one right here. And this is because this shows a brand new craft that she gets, the Shadow Axle. Not quite sure what it does, but it looks pretty sweet because this was not in the first game. It looks like she's in her Grimcat's form and splits into 3. So probably dealing triple damage, something like that. Either way, we'll have to see. Next up, we have Nina Finley, who is going to be returning, of course. One of the most suspicious characters from the first game, honestly. There's definitely something up with her. We don't know what it is. I think that the little bracelet she has, as well as the necklace she wears, and her boots are a huge sign to point towards, but we don't know. Either way, she's returning, and hopefully we'll learn more about that. We do get to see her in a China dress. I do like it. And we can see that Gochi's here. Gochi always makes every scene better. Moving on, we have Dominique Ronster. This is Judith's grandmother. We saw a very, very brief scene that she was in the first game, but that's about it. So she is making an appearance. It'll be interesting to see how they work her into the story. Obviously, she is one of the original Grimcats, and Judith has been carrying on her work as well as her mother's work. And she fires some big old guns, and while she's doing that, she's telling them, dance, dance for me, show me those steps. So she is definitely a heavy weapons user. Looking forward to it. And then Latoya Hamilton is obviously making a return again as well. Don't believe there's anything interesting to learn from here. All right, next up we have the new character, Mirabelle Alton. Wait, didn't they call her? Yeah, they call her Earlton here. I don't know which one's right, but either way, Mirabelle Alton, new character, works for the Marduk Company. So let's see, a service concierge that works for Marduk Total Security Company, who has a very distinct way of speaking. She is a strong-minded woman with a laid-back attitude, but somehow gets along surprisingly well with Risette, her polar opposite colleague, who she is friends with both at work and in her private life. She seems to be involved with the New Dungeon, a virtual space service that Marduk Company recently launched on the Orbital Network, and brings the Arkwright Solutions office a certain job. Maybe we can, says she has a distinct way of speaking, maybe we can see what that is from here. Oh, Kansai Ben? Yep, okay, so she speaks in a Kansai dialect. So that's what it is, what they're talking about with the distinct way of speaking. So interesting, cool. Well, let's move on to the couple scenes from the latest gameplay trailer that I wanted to showcase to finish off the video. All right, so here we are again at the gameplay demo. Again, if you want to see the full video for this gameplay demo, I will leave it linked in the video description. But the part that I wanted to showcase that I am pretty excited about is coming up right here. So they attack, and then the enemy does this, an enemy S-break. This has me super excited because it indicates to me that there will be a little bit more challenge in the game, which is something I was desperately seeking from the first game. Also, it just means that we'll be able to see all the enemy S-breaks if they're able to just jump in and attack you with their S-craft. Because that was something we didn't really get to see in the first game. Many enemies, you kind of had to go out of your way to see the S-crafts for the enemies, because if you just played the game naturally, they would never use them because you would just beat them before they could. So this is really interesting. I'm glad that they're adding something like this, and I look forward to seeing how it changes the dynamic of how I have to play the game. Like, do I need to make sure I'm constantly buffed up at all times, or fear that I might get wiped out by an S-craft? We'll just have to see the balancing on it, but it's definitely something that has me excited. All right, the last thing I just wanted to showcase was we got a look at one of the new S-crafts, which confirms that the characters from the first game will be getting new S-crafts. Pretty obvious that that was going to happen, but this at least just confirms it, and we get to see the first of all the new S-crafts with Vons. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Yeah, this is pretty sweet. I like this. I like this a lot. This one's using his sword. His first S-craft, he primarily used his fists, and this one's actually using his weapon. So that's pretty sweet. And that'll be it for all of the latest news on Kuro no Kiseki 2. As usual, as more info is released, I will be going over it with you guys as we wait for the official release of the game. But that's it. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Also, I do stream over on Twitch most days of the week, and I will of course be streaming Kuro no Kiseki 2 as soon as it releases, so be sure to come and hang out over there at twitch.tv/RoslinGaming. Till next time, take care.